Rutlidge, and Glen has been a reunion host in the past for the association. Glen, if you'd tell us how old you were when you joined the Navy in the years that you were on board the Natchez, then some of your memorable moments.
Well, I joined the Navy in May of '51, and through boot camp, and then after boot camp in late '51, I went to Damage Control School in Treasure Island in Frisco. And after that, I got out in December, I guess, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly, but the first ship I went on was the AKA 59, the DIFTA. It was a cargo ship. And as soon as I got on it, we went to Japan. Stopped off in Hawaii, but I didn't get Liberty, just I stayed aboard. And we took a load of shell casings to Japan. And when we came back, we was there 2 weeks in Japan, and it probably was a month's trip altogether, something like it, not any more than that. And I was only on it 3 months, and when I got back, they transferred me to the Natchez. That was in, had to have been in May or June of '52. And we weren't on it very long, and we went to, I can't remember all the stops we made, but we went down to the Panama Canal, and probably, I can't remember names, he's just here. He was on it then, and we went through the canal and went up to Boston, or Fall River, Massachusetts, by Boston. And I think we took on some fuel there. And from there we went to the Mediterranean. That was in '52. And I'll just go from there. I made 3 trips to the Mediterranean, 6-month cruises. The third one was shortened to some because I got out in April of '55. But I do want to tell you about this one guy was on there, and his name's on the register, but he's passed away now. His name was Robert F. Fisher. I want to tell you that because he was a SEAL, and I think the crew needs to know about him. And he also went to Vietnam. I think he made 3 trips over there, and he was injured 2 of them. And they told him he wouldn't have to go back, but he did. And the reason I know all this, I even visited him after he got out. But he also spent, I don't know how much time, teaching SEALs in San Diego. His name was Fisher, and he was on the ship at the same time I was. And I want to say afterwards, after I got out and I was working in a bakery in Joplin, I was working in the basement in the bakery, and a guy come down to me and said, "Say, there's a CIA agent wants to talk to you." I said, "Oh, bull." I said, "There's no CIA agent wants to talk to me." And they kept insisting, and I kept saying no, and he said, finally, he said, "You've got to go up." So I went up to the office, and here's this man in a suit, and he showed me his badge. He was from the CIA. He honestly was. And he said, "You know a guy named Robert F. Fisher?" I said, "Yeah, he's one of my best friends." And he asked me, I don't know how many questions about what he did, and if he drank, and a bunch of stuff just for his personality and everything. And Fisher was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. And he didn't, if he went on the beach, he didn't drink a lot. He might have a beer, but he didn't get drunk. Well, anyway, I come to find out he went into the SEALs. And he told me a lot of stories about the SEALs after that, but we'll just go from there. After he got out of Vietnam, I think the 3rd time he started teaching the SEALs in San Diego to base there. And he was just a really nice guy. And I saw him afterwards, later on, after he had retired, and he had brain surgery, or brain tumor. He didn't have the surgery, I don't think, but he got over it, but later on he was in a fire, and he was burnt so bad that he wasn't going to make it. So I just talked to his wife after this happened. I went by there to see him in Tennessee, and she had medals he had, and she had letters from the president and admirals that his service, what he did in the service. So that's important for the Nietzsches, I think.
Yeah.
He wasn't on the Nietzsches after the SEALs, but before the SEALs he was.
Yeah.
So, and another thing I want to say is probably old, what's his name just in here?
Gordon.
Gordon. He might have told you about that when the ship was dead in the water down here off the Mexican coast. Did he tell you about that?
No.
Well, they had a full power run down there, and they blowed a big steam line. So we were dead in the water for at least 2 hours. And me and a couple other guys, we got out the fishing gear and went to fishing. And this captain was up on the bridge shooting at turtles. I know that too, at the same time. And this day and age, they didn't do that, but we got to fish, and we was using blood. We got bait from the mess hall, and liver is what we used. And I caught this fish about this long. I was reeling it in. All we had was freshwater gear. And when I was bringing that in, right behind it was a shark. You wouldn't believe how big he was. And I pulled it on in and got it in, and we started putting stuff on our line and put a big blob of liver on there and threw it back in there, and there were 2 sharks by then. There was 2 there. And they was probably, I don't know, they was really big. They weren't great whites. They were the regular sharks some kind. That shark, I dropped that. I had a hunk of liver about that big on there, and I dropped it in there by that shark, and it was, I don't know how far it was from his mouth, but it was quite a ways. Just all of a sudden, it just disappeared. He was gone, and there I was. I had a hold of him and tried to reel him in, and he broke the lines just like that. But I wanted to tell you about that, and I think another thing I want to tell you about is another guy that I think we know about. His name was John Van Ravensway. He was a metalsmith, I believe, or a pipe fitter. I'm not sure which, but he's in my division. He's a great big old Dutchman, and he was I made second class ahead of him, and he was a third class. And he always seemed to me like that. He wasn't the smartest guy in the world, but he's probably the best metalsmith they ever saw. He was just good with his hands, much better than me. And he was worrying about making second class. And I was getting out, and I told him, "You make second class." He said, "No, I won't." I said, "I'll bet you $5 you will." He said, "I'll bet you I won't." And he called me on it. I went home, and about 2 months later, I got a $5 bill in the mail from John Van Ravensway.
Yes.
So that's another thing about the people on there that's so good people. And there were a lot of them. Chandler was another one. He's in my division, and you know how Chandler was. He's just a good man. But what else? Is that it?
Well, I want to know about baseball.
Playing ball?
Yeah.
Well, we played ball mainly in Gulf Juan, France. Did that what Gordon told you, or Carl told you?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I can't remember a whole lot about that, but we did play the other teams. And, you know, I can't remember if we won or lost.
He said y'all won.
Well, I don't know. I can't remember. But we did play a lot and had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, when we was in Gulf Juan, they'd say, "Now, don't be going over there at that Riviera. We're all in the beaches, or women don't have to wear any clothes." So we didn't. I think we went and sneaked over there once, but we weren't supposed to even be over there. And when you went on beach, Liberty, like Casablanca, we went there once. I don't know if you guys ever went there or not, but that was, I believe, the dirtiest place I ever saw in my life. I mean, it was just nasty, filthy. And they had a women's prison there that they said, stay out of it.
Used
Some
to
of
call
our
it the
characters
dirty
we had on the ship decided they'd go. And they never caught them at it, but they should have, because it was awful. What else?
Well, that'll do it.
And I got out of the Navy in 55 and went home.
Did you?
I
How
got
old
married-
were you when you went in?
And lived happily ever after.
Yeah. I was 18 years
18.
and 9 months old.
Okay.
And I got married in 54, in June of 54, and I got out in April of 55. And
Went on to live life.
went on. Ended up working for the railroad for 30 years. Worked at that bakery where the CIA called me about. I worked there 11 years before I went to the railroad.
Very good.
And,
Okay.
and I wouldn't trade 4 years in the Navy for anything. I've always told my wife that. It was quite an experience. And I think you guys will agree to that. I think every young man wouldn't hurt him to go into the service.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it'd be good for them. This day and age, it's really, they need that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks
That
so
do it?
much. Very
You got
good.
the
Thank you.
floor.